Gentleman yields back. Now recognize the chairman of the Health Subcommittee, Mr. Guthrie.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And responding to what our ranking member said, we all obviously have to listen to experts because we're not experts. But we don't have to give away our right to oversight. We're responsible for oversight of what's going on at the agencies. That's in our purview. I know we didn't have hearings when they were in the majority, but we are now. And quite honestly, Dr. Walensky and Dr. Califf, y'all have reached out to me, so I think y'all appreciate our role in oversight, and that's noted and appreciated. And so, and the reason is this, and here's an example. We're going to talk about school closure. I think we talked about that before. In summer of 2020, the Kentucky schools were getting ready to start back again. This is before you guys were in office, I understand that. And then the governor delayed, told schools they couldn't open. Then he went to a point of said, okay, I'm going to suggest you don't open or ask you not to open, but not force it. We had school systems say, we've been spending the summer getting ready, we're going to get open, we're going to stay ready. So they met in the fall of 2020, a handful of school systems in my district. One superintendent didn't want to meet, but the non-experts who were elected school board members voted it down, and they met, and the kids were better off for what the decisions that the non-experts made. And the governor even pointed out our school system, some of my superintendents by name, for y'all are going to cause problems, y'all are opening your school system. Well, it didn't take too long to understand, not that there weren't any cases in our school system, but none traced to the school system. And we learned pretty quick the kids weren't super spreaders like they are with the flu. And not a single person from Frankfort went to one of our schools that were open every day and said, is there what are you guys doing to make it work? And so then you fast forward to 2021, and then the guidance, Dr. Walensky coming out from CDC, that was highly reported, heavily reported that the teachers union were involved in a line-by-line edit of the guidance. And it would have been helpful if one of my superintendents would have had the opportunity to apply. So it gets not just to that situation. I'd like for you to talk about that situation, but also, you're the experts, but how's it transparent? How do we know? How can we have confidence in guidance when we have school systems meeting and meeting effectively, but then guidance came out that a lot of people used to keep I know you didn't order the school systems closed, but they used your guidance to do so.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this. So I came in on January 20th, and it was among my highest priorities to get our schools open, and it demonstrated, the work that we did was demonstrated to be successful. So when I came in, 46% of schools were open. By the end of May, we had 63% of schools fully open, and by September, we had 94% of schools fully open. Among the first guidances that I released, I think within 3 weeks of my arrival, was how to get our schools open. That is the guidance to which you are referring, and I'd just like to speak to how we put that guidance together. We take subject matter experts. We have our scientists review the data, review the science.
Did the teachers union have specific, I just got so much time, I'm sorry, but did the teachers union have specific access to it that others didn't?
In a penultimate version, what we do is we look at our key stakeholders. We reached out to over 50 key stakeholder groups. That included parents, that included superintendents, that included teachers, because we really need to make sure that those stakeholders can actually implement on the guidance that we put forward. There was a key piece missing in that penultimate version, and that is, what do you do for teachers who are immunosuppressed, those teachers who are getting breast cancer treatment, teachers who've had a heart transplant? That piece had been missing. It was the reason that we request that feedback, is so that we can say what's missing to implement. And it was that piece that was changed after those discussions.
So are you going to do things differently, or do you feel like?
So we are strengthening our processes as to how we standardize and do that outreach, but I think that outreach continues to be critically important. We need to know how the end users will receive our guidance to understand that it is implementable for the
We want to make sure that everybody has access from all parties.
And we did speak to superintendents and parents. We spoke to over 50 groups.
Thank you. And Dr. Califf, I understand that FDA has, people have said that has really good guidance practices, and you speak to your guidance practice when you get input from folks moving forward?
As I think you know, there's a draft guidance that's put out, and then comments are achieved from the public, really, at that point. But during the course of drafting guidances, we may have discussions with interested parties. Many of our guidances, you know, deal with the medical products industry, for example, and we do talk with people because we can't do these things in a vacuum.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Walensky, I only have about a half a minute, so I'm gonna try to get my question quick. But we talked a little bit about mission creep when CDC is the pandemic preparedness and response, and CDC over 100 years since we've had our big, last big nationwide pandemic, and just the response to CDC prepared for a pandemic. It wasn't prepared, it did appear at the very beginning. Is it prepared now for another
A lot of what we are doing in CDC moving forward is strengthening our piece or component that's a response-based agency. We have a new CDC Ready Responder program. What we could really use from Congress is the workforce authorities to be able to do that. Workforce authorities that are similar to other response agencies like FEMA work for danger pay, overtime pay, loan repayment, tax-free loan repayment. So those workforce authorities would be really helpful for us to